All right, so in last week's class, we were looking at the beginnings of Unreal Engine. And we worked through a way of taking rhinoceros files into 3D Studio Max to apply UV mapping and UV texturing. We were joining things there so that when we import them into Unreal, they would all be one group and easy to light and texture. And that's a little bit of a cumbersome process, especially if we're in the early stages and we're working on design iterations in Rhino, which I think a lot of people will be doing. So we also talked about Fabric Engine. Now, Fabric Engine is currently in beta, and it's something that you can apply for. I have a copy that I've downloaded here, and I'm going to copy and paste these directories into my project directory. So by taking those and adding them to my Unreal project, which by default is under My Documents, Unreal Projects, I can then access a new toolbar that will be part of my project next time I open it. And as part of that toolbar, I'll have open NURBS, which will allow me to import our Rhino file. So one thing I'm going to do is just delete this ground plane. We've talked about a couple things. I have some fog, a directional light, and a player start. You can see I have a few materials here just because the previous level I was working in was using these materials. We're going to make some new ones in our next tutorial. But for right now, I'm going to go to Fabric Engine, Open NURBS, Import. I'll browse to my desktop and I'll get my Barcelona pavilion. And these are the settings for importing from Open NURBS, which is our Rhino file. I'm going to slide this over. I know that I was working in inches, so I'll set that. I'm going to ask for it to be merged by layer. All of these settings are fine the way they are. But down here where I generate UV maps, I'm going to say that I want a 1.0 relationship, so 1 pixel per square. In the past, I was having trouble with some UVs overlapping. By changing this to 1.0, I had better success. I'm also going to set us at 1K textures for right now, and I'm going to bump the margins of the UV map, the light map, to 4. So things will be 4 units apart when they get generated. So I'll import, and it should just take a couple seconds here for Rhino to import, and we'll have a untextured, unlit, mostly, Barcelona pavilion in Unreal Engine. So if we look around, there it is. And right now, there's not a whole lot going on, but if I click one of these objects here in its object details, I can set the material type to default. And I'm going to do that for a handful of objects. In fact, I can actually come into the world outliner here, and from water all the way up to the crucible columns, these are all static meshes. It appears that I cannot apply materials to it that easily. But maybe if I just click just the objects themselves, there we go. I can say I want those to be default. Granite wall, granite wall, granite wall, pool base, the roofs, statue, travertine base, benches, stairs. Click through all of these. One of them is not happy with me selecting them. So we'll go about it the long way. Just apply a few at a time. Roof already has default, okay. I can also go in and know that I want my water will be a glass material, which we'll create in the next tutorial. I'll click my glass and make that a glass material too. Crucible columns, I'm going to make our metal material, which right now is copper, which isn't accurate, but I'm going to go with it. Let's see, our statue back here is set to default. I'm sure there's something, there we go. Set up some default materials. The easiest way to see what's set correctly or not is to actually add some more lights into the scene. So over here in my mode, I'm going to go to lights. I'm just going to put a skylight. That'll give us some ambient occlusion so things bounce around. I can see that these gradient walls here, turn those, there we go. And so now we have a file that we can work with. And in the next iteration, I'll show you these materials, what we made, and maybe we can try to make some travertine and granite to put on the walls. That's coming up next.